Hey, aloha. This is Jeff Reinebold coming at you from beautiful Keikaha on the island of Kauai. And we're going to have a little fun this morning. We're going to talk a little football and anything else you want to talk about. So I got a ton of questions coming in. Now, I'm not exactly a tech guy, so if this gets screwed up at some point, hang with us and we'll get it done right. One of the questions I had come in today was kind of an interesting one. It was, who would win a 40-yard dash if Coach Butler, and Coach O squared off for a 40-yard dash? And that's a tough one to answer, because if it was in their prime, I think O would take him. It'd be close, but O would take him, because Butts could run a little bit. Now, today, I don't know. That's anybody's guess. The other question was, who's faster in a 40-yard dash, Speedy B or Frankie Williams? Well, you got to find somebody faster than Speedy B. I got to see that guy. Frankie's fast, but Speedy's real fast. So I would say it would be Speedy B in that one. And he might be, if he's not the fastest guy in our league, he's certainly one of the fastest guys in our league. Now, I am sitting on the porch here in Hawaii, and so when you hear dogs and chickens and all this, welcome to Hawaii. That's just the way it is around here. So please understand, and they stop baying after they kill the cat. So, no, not really. They don't kill the cat, but they chase the cat around. So another question that we had, which was, I thought, a really good question, said, who has the strongest leg of any kicker you ever coached or you ever saw? I tell you, there's a couple guys that come to mind. When I was coaching in NFL Europe in 1994, this was before there were very many. As a matter of fact, I don't think there were any Australian kickers at the time. And man, I tell you what, it's a free-for-all today with those dogs. Anyway, back to 94. In NFL Europe, a kid who had played Australian rules football came over, and they tried, the San Diego Chargers sent him into our league to make a punter out of him. And he punted for Amsterdam, and his name was Darren Bennett. And Darren Bennett, who went on to be a Pro Bowl punter, had maybe his strongest leg I've ever seen. He was the only guy I've ever seen where other players would actually, in warm-ups, you know, the offensive lineman, the defensive lineman, regular football players would go out to watch him warm up, because he hit the ball, and he hit it so, I swear to God, he hit it so high it looked like a pea when it was in the air. And that, he was impressive. He was just learning how to be a punter at the time, so everything was about how far and how high he could kick it, like Aussie rules football. He hadn't learned to place it yet, but he's one that comes to mind. Tom Morstead, who I coached at SMU and then is now the highest paid punter in the National Football League. Tommy is, if you see him, he looks like a linebacker or a tight end. He doesn't look like a kicker. He's a big, strong guy, and he has a huge leg. You watch him kick, and the same thing. I mean, the ball is up there a mile when he kicks it. Ty Long had a strong leg. I think back in CFL days, Hank Olisic was a great talent and big, strong guy. Again, most of the time, those guys that have big legs are guys that, have long levers, and they get a mechanical advantage because their legs are so long. But Olisic was one of those guys. And then a shorter guy, probably the most explosive, smaller guy I've ever been around, was Louis Pasaglia in his prime at BC. They had just built BC Place in the 80s, and Louis would go out in pregame, and he would try and bounce balls off of the scoreboard that hangs in the middle of BC Place, and on more than one occasion he could hit it. So I thought, for a smaller guy, he had probably the most explosive leg I've seen. Now, again, we got a bunch of stuff about the league, and I think probably the best way to address all this stuff about what's going on right now is, right now, the number one focus for everybody, for our players, for us as coaches, for the front office staff, for everybody involved in the CFL, and so hopefully for you too, is to flatten this curve in this pandemic that we're going through. Football has its time, and football will have its place, and it will, when it comes, we'll be ready for it. I think right now the biggest thing is to keep yourself healthy, keep your family healthy, practice social distancing, wash your hands for 20 seconds, do all the things that the medical people are saying, because the more we do that, the faster we're going to get to play football, and I think that's important. I got a question here from my buddy Louis B., who is my man. He said, Coach, would you win a race between who would win a race? That's the question I answered earlier. You got to pay attention, Louis. I said Speedy B would win. Now, no, I'm not dissing Frankie, but Speedy B would win. Let's see what else we got here. If we can slide those up, I think there's a bunch of them down there, but I have a little problem seeing them. One of the questions was, so Louis asked me, what's my favorite island dish? Well, right now I would say that the rice here is outstanding. There's something about Hawaiian rice that's amazing, and it's part of every meal here. You can get rice at McDonald's, if you can believe that, in Hawaii. You can also get Spam at McDonald's for breakfast. So it's part of the culture here, and they know how to make it. What are my thoughts on the Box J boys? Let me tell you something. The Box J boys, those are my guys. I love those guys. Every game, if the weather's good enough for me to ride my motorcycle to the stadium, I always go over to the Box J boys tailgate and talk to them for 4 or 5 minutes and just let them know how much I appreciate the fact that they're the best fans in the CFL. CFL's got great fans around the league, but the Box J boys are special to me. You see those guys with their kilts on and their helmets on, and they love their football team. And a lot of fun when they're doing the pass up after touchdowns. And again, that's just part of the reason why it's such a great thing to be able to work for Hamilton, because we got such great fans. Josie at Ball Hockey says, is Hamilton Tiger Cats going to win the playoffs next year? Josie, our focus, and this is really important for fans to understand, our focus, obviously, we understand the bottom line. The bottom line is the bottom line. Keep the main thing the main thing. Everybody, all 9 teams in our league are fighting to try and win the Grey Cup. But the bottom line is you win the Grey Cup because your preparation and your day-to-day is good enough to give you a chance to play in the game. Last year, we had a great football team, and we gave ourselves a chance to, play in the final and have a chance to win it. We didn't play well that day, but that's over. We got to get over it. We got to get past it, and we got to be moving on. O does a great job of talking to our players, and I think all the coaches echo this sentiment that, you can't be outcome oriented. You got to be process oriented. And what's that mean? It means every day, how you practice, how you pay attention to meetings, how you prepare, how you go to the training room, how you work for Ike in the weight room. All of those things are things that are that you can do to give yourself the best chance to win in November. And in special teams, we always talk about, guys, we're always looking for slight edges, small wins. Slight edges, small wins. If you have enough days where you create slight edges and small wins, the winning really takes care of itself. So we're really focused more on the process than we are on the outcome. The outcomes take care of themselves. Who's my favorite all-time CFL special teams player and NFL special teams player? Ryan, I appreciate that. Jason sent that. My all-time, it'd be hard to just name one guy in terms of in the CFL, because I've been blessed to have so many great players. Every unit that I've ever worked with has always had some really, really good players. And I go back to my first year in the league in 1991, and Carl Coulter and Doug Hocking and Mike Marasco and Remy Trudell. And, we had a ton of guys that really were unselfish. Donovan Wright, a ton of guys that were unselfish guys. And we've been fortunate all the way through my career to be able to have those kind of guys. Now we're in an era where you got Mike Daly and, you've got so many guys. Action Jackson is a great special teams player. Malden is a great special teams player. We've got great contributions from our starters. You look at our starting guys, and they're guys that are contributing on the special teams. Frankie goes out there and plays corner for 65 snaps and is the best returner in the league. So we've got culture of what I would say, a culture of unselfishness is probably the best way to say it. And that's, that's why we're able to be as good as we are. It isn't about coaching, it's about players. You know what? I got it. There's one I got to go back to if I can go back to it. Somebody right here, Oski18 said, I love how you throw the ball to fans at away games. I do that at every game, and I'll tell you where that comes from. When I was a little kid, and I mean a little kid, like I was probably, I was about 4 years old. My dad was a basketball coach at the time in Bay City, Michigan, which is north of Detroit. And so my brother and I had little Detroit Tiger uniforms. In the last game of the season one year, my dad took us to Old Briggs Stadium to watch the Tigers play, and there was nobody in the stands because they're playing the Cleveland Indians, and both teams were bad, and the season was over for both teams. But for a little kid, anytime you got a chance to go play was awesome, or go see a big league game was an awesome experience. So we're all dressed up in our Tiger uniforms, and I was standing out by the old bullpen in Briggs Stadium, which had a low fence, and one of the pitchers from the Indians came over and picked me up and sat me, or put me inside on the field, right out in the bullpen where they work, and we played catch together. And now, again, I'm 4 years old. I can barely fit my hand in the glove, and I'm playing catch, and I just remember that feeling of looking around and seeing all those stands, and this is a big league park, and I'm playing catch with a big league pitcher, and so I made a conscious decision when I came to pro football in 1991 that before every game, if I could, that I was going to take a football and go down and find kids and throw the ball to them. So that's where all that comes from. I think it's awesome. Let's see. Gabriel Ortiz. How you doing, Gabe? How's everything in Mexico? Hola, amigo. ¿Qué pasa en Mexico? I hope you're good, man. Get your work in. And again, number one thing, take care of your family. All right? All right, let's look at, we got Stu Nails 43, new edition of last year's players who you are looking forward watching this year. I tell you what, every year, Stu, our personnel staff does a great job of bringing us guys. I mean, you take a guy like Chris Fry last year, sadly got hurt his knee about quarter way or the way through the season, kid out of Michigan State that had been in the NFL with Carolina. Berkey and those guys saw him. They brought him in, and the kid made a huge contribution for us right away. Malden's another one. So every year, I know our personnel staff is going to give us the best chance that we can have by bringing us guys that fit the profile of what we're looking for. And when you ask me what's the profile of what we're looking for, I know this. Number one, you got to love football. You got to be a good person, good teammate. They come in all different sizes, but those two things are really, really important. You got to be passionate, and you got to be willing to work, and you got to be willing to learn. And if you're willing to do those things, then you'll have a chance no matter what position you play or how big you are, or any of those other things. So again, our personnel staff, Drew and Berkey and Spencer Bohm, and all the way through, every one of those guys over there does a great job. They work extremely hard to give us the best chance to have the best players each year. So I think those guys are great guys, and again, it's part of winning. You got to have a team effort to win if that's going to happen. Was Pinball Clements annoying? Yeah, he was annoying. He was something. Again, you go back and I think that's from Dan Zalazier, I think it is, Dan. I'm sorry I'm killing your name, but Pinball was something special. You watch him, and he was really a unique player, a little tiny guy that just every play was a chance that he was going to score, and I'm glad he's back in our league. He's a great ambassador for the CFL. That smile, he's got a 100-watt smile every day, and that's good to have around. Music Love 127 says, am I going to miss McGuff a lot? Sure am. I miss Connor McGuff. I'll miss the kind of person he is. Connor McGuff was a great player for us. He had a chance to go back closer to home. You never blame a guy for doing what's best for him and his family, and I really am grateful to Connor and all the guys that Richard Leonard and guys that have stepped onto a different opportunity for what they gave while they were in Hamilton. I'll be more thankful for what he gave and how he helped us set a culture, then, angry certainly that I'd love to have him. I'll be envious, and it's going to be fun competing against him. Alizone Media said Eric Harris brought the tradition. The throwing the ball in the stands thing. Yep, he has, and I think that's really, really cool. And I wish more of this is one of the things that's about the NFL and the CFL that's different. In the CFL, I think the players are much more attached to the fans, and it's easier to do it, and the fans have greater access to the players, and I think that's one of the best things that our players do is they touch the fans. We've got to remember this is football, and, we all get that, but in the end, it's about people. Life's about people and interactions, and, my dad always said that, if you leave a place a little bit better than when you got there, then you've had a good career. So, that's what we're all trying to do. Josh Ball Hockey, Joshy Ball Hockey 122018. Is Halifax getting a CFL team? We're all hopeful in that one, Joshy. I think that will be amazing for our league to get us to 10 teams. It would simplify the scheduling. It would truly make the CFL a coast-to-coast league in Canada. So I think all of us are really, really excited about the prospect of having a team in Halifax, and the signs that we've seen from Halifax are all really, really positive, and I think that's good for our league. North Frost 619 says hello, and this is the way we say it over here, baby. This is aloha, so maybe you can get your aloha on. Carter YKTV. I said, you say you love to play football and you're a lineman. Well, again, I think that's awesome, Carter. Play the game as if it's every play is your last one, because you never know in this game, and you never want to go through your life with regrets. And football is a little bitty time blip on your timeline, so make sure you enjoy every little bit of it while you're playing, because, again, it goes way too fast. Let's see. I heard there's one from Allie again. It says Don Jackson is going to be fun to watch. I think Don Jackson is going to bring us some things that we need. He's a good, tough runner. He can catch the ball real well. He's good in pass protection. I had a chance to talk to him when he was in Hamilton, and I know O sat down with him at length. But I'm impressed with the kid, and I'm anxious to see what he brings to our football team. I think, when we do get to training camp, it's going to be a heck of a training camp, because I know our personnel guys have done a great job of signing players. I thought our free agency was outstanding. Anytime you can keep your own in free agency, that's a big, big plus, because you know what you got. You know what kind of person you got. There's an old saying in this business that you don't know about people till the bullets start flying, and that's really true. And so when you look at guys like Jagarrett Davis, and you look at guys like Wynn and all the guys that we were able to keep, that's really important, because they know the culture. They'll be the best teachers of our young players coming in, and they're the guys that we can turn to, whether it's Teddy Laurent or any of them. We say, hey, listen, you want to see the way it's done? Watch Teddy. 19 dot the Gabsters 95. When will the CFL season begin? Because I can't wait to see you guys play against the Alouettes. Well, Gabster, I can't wait to play against the Alouettes either, but right now the league, and I think the league is doing the right thing, I know our team is doing the right thing, is they've turned it over to the health people. I mean, the people that are experts in the field that they have, our job is to get ready for a season, and that's what we're doing. We've had staff meetings by Zoom. Everybody's got their work projects, and everybody's working to do that. The players are all conditioning themselves. So whenever the health people and the government say it's safe to start a season again, we'll be ready to go. Let's see here. Dan Zelxavier again. How about June Jones down in Houston? Must have been cool for you to go see. I tell you what, Danny, June Jones is about as good as guys there is. And what he did to step aside and give O that chance, I thought was outstanding. And, again, I know he was really torn about going to Houston or staying with us. But you saw the results of what he does. And it's been that way everywhere I've ever been around the guy. The guy's an amazing guy, great football guy. But more than that, he's a better person. And I thought you saw that in his football team. He really does a good job of understanding that this game is played by human beings. It's an imperfect game played by imperfect players, and the coaches, the really great coaches I've been around, June Jones, Orlando, Dick Vermeil, they all understand that it's a people industry that we're in. It's not X's and O's. It's not disposable parts. It's people. And I think that's one of the reasons why he'll always have success. Official Haas Wright. How does one guarantee tickets for the Grey Cup here in the Hammer without season tickets? You know what, Haas, go to our ticket people, get with our ticket people, and I'm sure they will have the answer for that. I don't have an answer for it because I don't deal with that. I try and take care of what I got. I got plenty on my plate. I don't plenty on my plate without worrying about tickets, but I know our ticket people will be more than happy to help you. Let's see. Let me get one here. What comparisons do you see between Coach O and Coach Bono? Very interesting question. Having the opportunity to work for some of the greatest coaches of all time, and I really mean that. You look at guys like Bob Obilovich, who brought me into this league, having a chance to work for June, having a chance to work for Coach Vermeil, having a chance to work for Coach Bono, and now, having a chance to work for O. I think there's some similarities in all of those guys. Now, they're all different personalities. They all have different schematic ways that they win football games. They all are their own unique men. But the one common thread that runs through every single one of those guys is they're great people. And I think that's what they do better than anything else is they create environments where people want to go to work every day, where people want to succeed, not succeed for themselves, but succeed for the greater good. And, June has a way of saying it that what you say and what you do must be the same things. Coach Vermeil, one of his that I've always kept is you must reach before you can teach. Wally was tough and demanding, but he always had an opportunity. He'd always give a player or a coach an opportunity to come in and talk about things. And I think that the maturity that they have and they're guys that are comfortable in their own skin, I think that runs through all of those guys. And I'm really blessed to have had an opportunity to work with those guys. Sad Dog 16. I study the O-line and what they do and hope to be a Tiger Cat one day. Dude, get in the weight room. Get in the weight room and work, because that's the only way that make it happen. Again, turning your dreams into reality really happen because of action. It's what you do and not what you dream. Use that as fire, but make sure again that you get yourself in the weight room and do everything you can to work. Malden IV says, do you think special teams will be greater than last year? We have a really, really, really high expectation throughout our football team, not just our special teams, but throughout our football team. I think it permeates through the football team. And I think you saw that with the way our defense plays. Obviously, Tommy's offense, they were lights out all year long. And in the special teams, we just try and play complementary football. Again, there's Geronimo the Wonder Dog over there keeping the yard safe. And it really comes down to every year is a different year. Every group of special teams players takes on their own personality, what kind of leadership they get. Like I said, we got Mike Daly, we got Action Jackson, we got Tunde, we got Fry, we got Malden, we got Hauser, we got a ton, Frankie, we got a ton of great guys that are really, really good football players. So I think the limit will be self-imposed, what we want to decide to do and how hard we want to work and how much commitment we want to make. And again, I'm betting on those guys. Those are great people when you start talking about those guys. Can you describe the relationship between Mia and Dane? I think you're talking about between Jeremiah and Dane. I think it's really healthy. Both those guys are team guys. And again, one of the things that makes us different, I really truly believe that, is we openly talk about a four-letter word that you don't hear very much in football. You hear a lot of four-letter words in football, but don't hear this one very much, and that's love. And we love each other. That's something that we openly say. How can you not love guys that are as competitive and unselfish as these guys are? Dane is Jeremiah's biggest supporter, and Jeremiah's Dane's biggest supporter. Now, they're going to compete every day to try and win the job and try and be the guy, because that's what they should do. But again, they want more than anything else, they want team success. we have a saying, and I really truly believe it. It's another Dick Vermeuleism. It's team success is a prerequisite to personal success, and I think that our players understand that. McSquimish says, I'm from NL, and I'd love to see another team closer to home. You got to stay with your Ticats because they got to stay your number one team. Let's see what we got here. Macala Juice World. I'm a big fan. Should I kill myself? No. Shoot no. Music is Love 127. Can't wait to watch Jalen Ackland do more touchdown celebrations. You know what's funny with Jalen? When Jalen first came in, he was kind of a guy that was really, not a guy that had great pub. He wasn't a guy that came in with huge numbers. He never says a word. He's real quiet. But man, oh man, when the practice started, did he compete? And he had that little deal where he pulls out the arrow and shoots it after he catches the first down. And it riled up some of the veterans, to be honest with you. And he had a scrap or two early in training camp where he had to, kind of stand his ground, and he did, and he became one of the really, really good first-year players in this league. As a matter of fact, I thought he was a guy that should have gotten much more consideration for Rookie of the Year because I thought he played extremely well. Lil Dave 67 says, how about the running game? I think the running game, is in good shape. You look what we did last year. We ran the ball for 100 yards a game. I think Tommy understands that, you do what the defense tells you to do, really. And you look at some of the games where we come out and we just pound people with the run, and then there were other games where we threw it 80% of the time. And as Herman Edwards says, you play to win the game. So, again, we have coordinators here who understand that we play complementary football. People understand that complementary football means you're doing your best to set up the other phases. So, for example, when we punt the ball, we want to let their offense play on as long a field as possible. When we return the ball, we want to give it to our offense. And one of the things we keep track of is how many times do we give it to our offense across the 55? Because I know this, if you get the ball across center field in this league, you're going to score a lot more touchdowns than you're going to kick field goals. So, again, that's really, really what we're working for. And, DJ Harper, our running back coach, does a great job with those guys, those running backs. Get Watts 15 says, I'm from Sask. The only football game I go to is when you guys bring the beat down to the Riders. Well, I'll tell you what, people out in Saskatchewan, they should they should be proud of the way they root for that football team. That is a hard place to play. You go in there and it is loud and the fans are passionate. It's what you want as a player and as a coach. You want to play in those kinds of environments, and I think that's what all of us are looking for. Our players are starting to look to weigh in here. Malden says you trying to share some of that Hawaii weather. I told you, dude, it's all right here. In Hawaii, we don't move out, we just move over. And Carnell, our young DB, says San Diego weather just as nice, Lozo. Hey, Carnell, that ain't true. That ain't even close to true. This is the best place in the world. San Diego's nice, but it ain't Hawaii. Simon Batusik says, what was it like working for Sky Sports? Sky is a great opportunity for me. It came about really kind of by chance. And it gives me an opportunity. It's really like going to football class for 2.5 months, because when I finish the CFL season and go over to Sky, we have access to all the NFL games. I can go in there and I can do research. I can watch the latest trends in the game. I can see what people are doing. And there have been a number of things that we've brought back to the game from my time at Sky. And then I love watching the game grow. When we went to England for the first time in 1994, we played an NFL Europe game in London against the Monarchs, and you could have counted the number of people in the stadium. 2017, I went back and broadcast a Wembley game between the Ravens and the Jaguars, I think it was, and there was 90,000 people in Wembley, and it was the closest I've seen to a Super Bowl. So it's been really fun being a part of that growth. Who's my favorite quarterback? Well, that's a tall order, man. We have always, quarterback's such an amazing thing. I think the quarterback I've been around that there were two that were really game changers to me. In the college game, it was Colt Brennan, who had an incredible career at the University of Hawaii and then played for the Washington Redskins. And sadly, his career was cut short by an automobile accident. So he was probably the best college quarterback I ever saw. But the one quarterback that really was incredible to me was Doug Flutie, who was our quarterback in 1991 in BC. And I'm going to tell you something. It didn't matter how far you were behind or how much time was left. As long as Doug had the ball in his hands, you always felt like you had a chance. And I believe this is correct. It's a lot of football games ago, but we were in Saskatchewan one night, and Ken Austin was playing quarterback for Saskatchewan, and Doug was our quarterback, and they were putting on a show. And Saskatchewan was up by 21 points with 3 minutes left to go in the fourth, and Doug brought us back and won the game. That's the kind of player Doug was. So I would say Doug Flutie as a pro quarterback was the guy that was really a difference maker for me. And that might be interesting for people to hear, because I've been on teams with 5 different Heisman Trophy winning quarterbacks. So I've been really blessed in that regard too. What do you? This is from Penerdog. Do you think we'll consider using a fluid 2-quarterback system? Would each of the guys be open to that? I think what you're going to see, Penner, and I'm talking about our entire football team, is we're going to do whatever it takes for us to give ourselves the best chance to win in football games. And if that's playing 2 quarterbacks, then it's playing 2 quarterbacks. If it's having one guy be the main guy and the other guy in reserve and relief role, that's what we're going to do. And I think that's the same thing at running back. Are we going to be a running back by committee, or are we going to put it all on one guy? We'll see. Whatever gives us the best chance. Are we going to play, how are we going to use the ratio? How are we going to, all of those things. Who are going to be the DIs? Is somebody going to take some of the load off of Frankie in the return game? All of those things will be answered as we go forward. And we're going to do whatever it takes for us to give ourselves the best chance to win a football game. Let's see here. Let me try and get a different one. Hugo Bastos says, "Hi, I'm from Brazil. Aloha." A lot of great surfers in Brazil, Hugo. I hope you're one of them. And I hope you get a chance to come to Tim Horton Field and see a CFL game. We had in our global program, we had Combine in Brazil this year, and hopefully we'll get a Brazilian player in our league this season. I think that global initiative is outstanding. I think it's really, long-term vision by the commissioner. I think it's something that is needed. We've got to continue to grow our game, and you want to grow your business globally. You can't be a corner store for the, and make money. That's just the way it is in the economics of the game now. So I commend our league and Greg Quick and, all of the guys that have been involved in that program, because I think you're going to see this year when we get the nationals in or the globals in, you're going to see a better group of players. Music is Love 127. I'm curious what the kicker situation will be like, though I have no doubt Crawford can build chemistry with anyone. Craw Dogs is probably, in my mind, one of the best long snappers in the league. He's grown so much in that job since he first came to us, and he gives you a guy that'll give effort. He's big, he's strong, he's smart, tough, all the things you look for, and he's got great velocity and location on his ball. He works. If you ever watch us practice, you're going to see Aaron over there getting 1 million snaps during the course of the day, and he works hard at his craft, and that's what a lot of our players do, and one of the reasons why we're so successful. In terms of the kicker situation, I'm excited about it. We have been so lucky, and it's not luck, it's our personnel people have brought us great players. You look at, when we started out, it was, we went Canadian the first year. Then we decided to bring in Justin Medlock, and we went American a couple years. Then we went Brett Maher. And, those are great kickers. And Sergio came. And then this past year, or these past 2 seasons, we've had Liram. So we've always had guys. We're going to find a guy. We're going to find a guy that fits best for us and, fits within the salary cap and all the other things that you look for in a player. And I don't have any question that our personnel people will have the best group of kickers in training camp that we've ever seen when we get to training camp. So rest easy on that one. We're going to put it through the uprights, and we're going to kick it off well and punt well and cover them too. Susan Phillips, we canceled our Stampeder season tickets. The Stamps gave us tickets to the Ticat games this summer because they know we're huge Ticat fans. Got to love the CFL. do you really miss Tim Hortons Field? Well, we miss you in Tim Hortons Field. So whenever you get a chance to come back to a game, come as my guest. You and your husband come as my guest, and we'll get you a little Tim Hortons Field fix and get you a chance to see your beloved Ticats. So that one's on me. All right. Let's see here. Rule Habs. I know that at practice Jalen made the team. Habs. It's funny. They're young players who have what Ackland has, which is that belief that really, there are a lot of guys that they kind of have that posture, but then you see them get into the real tough times and their confidence wanes a little bit. It's more braggadocio than it is real honest belief in themselves. And I think that was the thing that set Jalen apart, was even though he started down on the depth chart, I think he really believed his whole rookie season or certainly in training camp that he was a guy that should be kept and should make the team. And I'm proud of him. I'm happy for him, and I think he's going to have a great career with us. Okay. Tommy Kanisha says, love the philosophy talk. You talking about football philosophy or life philosophy, Tommy? I don't know how much I can give you in life philosophy, but I'll help you with the football stuff if you want. Let's see. Penderdog, is Liram close to signing with any team in the NFL? We sure would miss him. I don't really know because I haven't talked to Liram. I know he and Berkey have had conversations. I hope if that's where he wants to go that he has an opportunity. The guys' windows in this game are very, very small. And when they get a chance, you want to see them do the best for themselves and their families. And if that means Liram going to the NFL, I support him 100%. I love the kid. I love what he gave us last year. He's got a great attitude every day when he comes to work. And, he's got some toughness. I mean, you don't grow up like he grew up and not be a tough guy. So that's one of the reasons I pull for him so hard. I see this one must be from England. Said there's no better TV than Rob Ryan and Jeff Reinebold. Neil Reynolds, who's the studio host, whenever Robin and I are on, he says it's like herding cats. But Rob and I go back a long way. In 1990, let me get this right now. In 1996, I was the defensive coordinator at BC, and Robbie had their staff. He'd worked for his dad at Arizona with the Cardinals and gotten fired. And he came up as a guest coach and did a great job for us. And actually, we tried to keep him, but we didn't have any money in the budget. So he went back down to the States and ended up winning 2 Super Bowls with the Patriots, defensive coordinator with the Cowboys, with the Raiders, with the Browns, with the Saints, and a really, really good guy and a good friend of mine. So anytime we get together, we make sure that we have a lot of fun. But I'll tell him you said that. Right here. Everybody's talking about the weather. Do I have any thoughts on Hawaii's Cole McDonald? I think he's a sleeper in the draft. Can you get his rights? Cole McDonald's an interesting kid. He didn't he kind of had a off and on starting career at Hawaii, but he's big, strong guy who has a lot of physical ability, can really spin the ball. And he's a guy that I think, has a chance to develop into a real fine pro quarterback. So, again, I don't know whether that's going to be in the NFL or the XFL or the CFL, but I do think Cole McDonald has the ability to play the game. And from everything I heard, he's a really good player and a good person. Let's see here. It says, Peter Richardson, 47, do you still have a motorcycle? If yes, what one? Peter, if you're referring to the motorcycles that I've had, my first one was a Honda Rebel way, way back in the day. And then I moved up to Harleys. I've had Fat Boys. I've had Softails. I've had Softail Heritages. I ride now a Triumph. I've got a beautiful Triumph that I bought at the Triumph dealer in Hamilton. That is there were 500 of them made. It's a centennial edition of the motorcycle that Steve McQueen rode in The Great Escape. And if you guys my age know that movie, that's a movie that as a kid you grew up on, and it was the coolest. Steve McQueen is the king of cool. And he rode this Triumph, and he jumped the fence to break out of this German prisoner of war camp, and it's a fabulous movie. Get it on YouTube; it's still around. And I saw that bike at at the dealership in Hamilton and bought it, and have had a lot of fun with it. Let's see here. Rugby kickers. We're talking about kickers. Rugby kickers can cover and tackle as well. You know, that's one of the advantages of the guys that come from Australia is they're raised in tough sports. You know, they play rugby and they play Aussie rules football, which is completely insane game. And so sticking their nose in there is typically not a problem for them. So I know when you look around the league and you look around college football and the National Football League, there are a tremendous number and more Aussie guys coming. We hope that those guys will be a part of our global program and that we'll get some of those guys playing in our league. Let's see here. All right, I have some great 2020 prospects for the CFL personnel to evaluate. Too bad the tryouts have been canceled. You know, it's a different year. It's a different time. We're all working on uncharted territory. And I tell you this, if you are a player, just keep working. That's all you can do. You can't control anything but what you do. And, you know, I say this to our players. I know that echoes it to our players. Every one of our coaches talk about it all the time. It's controllable factors. What can you control? You can control your preparation, whether you work, whether you do the things that you need to do to become a better player. That's all you can control. Everything else you just got to let go, because if you don't, you're going to focus on the wrong thing. So, again, Terry, what I'd say to you is this is Terry Conn Nicholson. Tell your prospects to just hang in there. It ain't over till it's over. Just keep working. There's a lot of crazy stories. I had a guy named Nick Ferguson that played for me 2 times. He was cut 8 times and ended up having a 10-year NFL career. So, you know, it can happen. You just got to believe and you got to work. That's the bottom line. You got to work. Let's see. Okay, Abermarley 99. I love the receivers being onside for a punt. Thanks for bringing it back to the CFL. Is that a hard play to execute? Well, you know, our execution rate on that play is about 80%. And I think that one of the things that's really cool was in the Grey Cup, you saw a play that we run off of it. And that's what we call sequence football. When you have one kind of a fake, you want to be able to show it and then come back and run something off of that same look. So if you remember in the Grey Cup, we got in field goal formation. The players ran out like it was going to be an onside punt, and we snapped the ball to Liram, and we pulled the guard and brought Tasker back through underneath, shoveled the ball to him, and we got a big first down, which led to a touchdown. So, I think that onside kick thing is really, we're just even beginning to scratch the surface of all that can be done. I think there's some areas in our game that really. If coaches start to think more and more outside the box, you're going to see more things like laterals. You know, again, you watch a rugby match and those guys are able to advance the ball down the field by pitching it back. We can do the same thing in our game, and I think, you know, coaches who think outside the box are going to start coming up with those kinds of plays. And I know, you know, you look around the league and Paul Boudreau in Winnipeg and O'Shea in Winnipeg and, you know, all the really Dickey over in Saskatchewan. Those guys are really, really on the cutting edge. Mark Killam in Calgary. Those guys are on the cutting edge of special teams. So every weekend you better have your A game if you're going to win in this league on special teams.